Cook, his tenure just hit 10 years. It's been on some of the news outlets, and it's caused a lot of people to reflect. I read some articles about it, and the one article I pulled was, if you had invested $1,000 on the day Tim Cook became CEO in 2011, the market value of your shares would be worth $12,970. If you add zeros to that, right? If it's $10,000, now it becomes $120,000.
Yeah.
Comparative the market over the same time. So that investment, 1,000 into 12,000, let's just say 13,000. The market has seen a 365% return over that same time period, and your $1,000 would have been $4,700. Okay?
Okay.
So you're talking about it's outperformed the market 3 times over the tenure of Tim Cook. Amazon feels really similar because, Apple, when Tim Cook took over, it was the founder. It was this larger than life figure that he was taking over for, and really a renowned genius. And then you have Jeff Bezos, who feels, I don't want to say he's Steve Jobs, but it feels the same, right? He's like a larger than life figure, one of the most valuable people in the world. And he's, he built Amazon. And now you take Andy Jassy coming over, and could he have the same impact? But we know the numbers, and I'm sure that number didn't surprise you, although it's great to see the returns.
Yeah.
It's a time to reflect on Tim Cook. And really the only 2 new products he created were really Tim Cook was the man for the job. And actually, I feel confident in saying that Tim Cook, I believe, brought Apple to a level that Steve Jobs couldn't have done.
Yeah.
Because of the focus towards shareholder value.
I agree. I think that, it was interesting because Steve Jobs had made mention before he passed that, the transition between him and Tim Cook, it was never going to be the same. And it was, he wasn't all that confident, at least at the beginning, on the prosperity of Apple with the transition from him to Tim Cook. And it's just crazy because the explosive growth that we've seen from Apple since Tim Cook has taken leadership has been incredible. And the crazy part about it, as much as Apple has moved, it's still got plenty of room to grow. It's one of those value stocks that it's also a growth stock, and who knows when it'll stop growing, but it doesn't look like it's going to be anytime soon. And whenever they get this ball rolling on the services side, I'm sure they'll be moving on to something else and continuing to innovate. So it is pretty wild to see, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Andy Jassy does too. We talked about some possible things that he could do to kind of make his mark on Amazon, and so it would be awesome to see one of those things come to fruition. And I would not be surprised whatsoever to see a similar type of story play out with Amazon.
Yeah, and if you think about it, the irony about sort of cloud-based, service-based, AWS is the foundation with which Amazon is built and their success is built.
Yeah.
You guys see all this stuff forward-facing, it's AWS and that's it. And I'm not saying that's it, but that's sort of the main driver. That's their cash cow.
Yeah.
And that's where Andy's success is going to be predicated upon, and he led AWS. He built AWS.
Yeah.
And so your ability to expand on what you've done, but then take Amazon to a new vision is going to be really important. It remains to be seen. But let's think about the next 10 years for Tim Cook. I don't know how long he's going to be around, but the interesting thing is, even though Apple's been around forever, and I think this is what some people struggle with, right? We give these stories of 1,300% growth over 10 years, and can it continue to grow? Or I think you mentioned, did you say an average of 80% per year? Or am I
No, it's
crazy?
80% last year. So the average is around 28% year over year.
28%, and when you talk about the overall average of the market, it's 8 to 10% if we're lucky.
Yeah.
So it outperforms the market by, let's say, 2.5 times. How can it continue to do that? The reality is you almost got to look at Apple as a new company, right? Yes, it's gone off and everything like that, but I don't know if you guys have used Charter.
Here's the while you're talking about that, I'll show everybody the monthly chart since Tim took over. Pretty crazy stuff.
So let me know, guys, if any of you guys use Charter daily. Honestly, I just randomly found it on IG or something. I haven't used it, but it looks really cool. However, I pulled this shot off of Charter, and it just does a breakdown of the revenue, and might be a little bit tough following along, but iPhone, everybody thinks about the iPhone, and a lot of you guys base your buying off of Apple and the skets off of Apple of iPhone, which I don't necessarily agree with. It needs to be at a minimum, but I don't think that's going to be the next 10 years on what like the success is predicated on. But $40 billion in revenue for Apple.
Yeah.
And so we talk about hard products. You got Apple, Mac, iPad. Together, they provide $64 billion of revenue. Sorry, also wearables, $64 billion of revenue. Okay?
Yeah.
Of that $64 billion, $41 billion goes to cost. So you're only profiting $23 billion or 36%. This was a fundamental problem with, companies like Dell, Apple, IBM, whatever you name, right?
Right.
Now, their service revenue is $18 billion, which isn't yet a lot, but it's their second largest revenue stream next to iPhone. It doesn't seem like a lot, but the upside to it is huge. If from $17.5 billion in revenue, Brad, if I told you that the gross margin is only 36% off of hardware, what do you think the margin, just guess, off of $17.5 billion is?
I would say, what, 40?
70% margin.
70%. Holy shit.
So out of
crazy.
17.5 billion, they take 12.2 billion.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, like, use economies of scale, grow that.
Right.
How quickly is that going to help the company? That's why this is a forever stock. That's why Apple is going to continue to be the most valuable company in the world for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Because that's going to continue to grow. And when that passes iPhone, as far as revenue, it's going to be insane because we're in the early innings of the services revenue of Apple and the shift in the vision for Tim Cook.
Yeah, well, and the hardware actually increased their margins as well on that too. So on the hardware side, we saw from their last earnings, it was like almost 50% margin on hardware, which is crazy. So yeah, they're not. This train ain't stopping anytime soon. Those are some really good numbers, some really good info on that Fat Man Zoom. I definitely appreciate you guys bringing that, or you bringing that to the table, guys. If you give us some thoughts down below in the comments, what do you think about Apple moving forward? Is there a situation in which this is as good as it gets for Apple, or does this train just keep rolling? We want to hear from you. Let us know in the comments below.